Hello, everyone. Welcome to the network. Welcome to the Two Dads edition. Wait,
that's not it.
Start again. What's up, motherfucker?
Two Dads, Gen X edition. That's a great beginning.
Yeah. Dun, 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 dun. I'm so glad that you had to push the button.
I know, and it's starting to grow on me.
That's what she said. I was like, do I say that? Does that work there? I don't know.
Yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah.
We're just going to go with it.
So July was all about communication with your partner, how to support the partner, role reversals.
Mm-hmm.
Does money really matter, and how to cope with that? We give advice on that kind of thing. So I'm thinking August should be all about divorce.
Ooh, that's going to be a personal one.
Yeah. Well, not for both of us.
Yeah.
I mean, for you doubly. Sorry.
Sadly, yeah.
Here's some salt in your wound, motherfucker. Oh, damn it. I swore too soon. Bleep that out.
We'll bleep that out.
Yeah, just bleep it out. Don't cut it out. Yeah, so I think one thing I really want to talk about, I think with every single person I know, divorce is one of the hardest things. It's life altering for everyone. You know, it's one of those major events in your life that you'll go through some phases of depression.
It's the mourning process.
Yeah,
it's
the
steps
mourning
of
process.
Grief.
And often we forget to take care of ourselves, but also we get so butthurt generally by the spouse, or situations come up to where we really struggle. Really struggle with it. And so I wanted to have August be the first in the divorce series.
Okay.
And this is about kids.
Yeah.
How to put your pride aside and do what's best for the kids to transition through this life-altering event. Because it really does make or break some kids.
Often, yeah. I mean, one of the things that I talk to my clients about, because I have quite a few clients that are going through or have been through or had been through divorce. Nobody wins in a divorce. Everybody loses, especially the kids, if there's kids involved.
Yeah.
There's no, ooh, I won, I took him for whatever, or ooh, I won and she, whatever. No, everybody loses.
Yeah, even though there are some people that feel like they won when they fuck over their spouse.
Yeah, but that's their pride.
Which is sad.
That's them, and really that tells you a lot about what the problems were actually in the marriage. If somebody's coming out the other end like that, then they probably were the problem.
Sorry, I got a big grin on my face. So anyway.
All right.
So
some people may not like hearing that.
Yeah, it's all his fault. So yeah, we're going to break it down into 4 sections. The first 3 are basically for the kids, and the last one's about themselves. I think the big thing is people forget to take care of themselves in a way that if you're healthy, then it makes it good for your kids to be healthy in the environment that they're in. So if you're struggling financially, you're not eating, you're not exercising, you're sleeping all the time, you're getting high, getting drunk, then obviously those are environments that the kids don't want to come to.
Because you're not a healthy parent.
Because you're not spending time with them, you're not healthy, you don't have your head on the right shoulders.
You cannot pour out of an empty cup.
Well, I mean, you can pour air.
Nope, that doesn't apply. All right, so let's get into it.
All right, so we're going to start with the first one, which is
open and honest communication with our kids.
Yeah, and you got to prioritize it.
Yeah,
I said the word without stuff.
Well, and open and honest communication doesn't mean that we just word vomit all of our feelings to our kids. There's something called emotional incest, where parents oftentimes will start using their kids as their best friend, and they'll start talking about like the problems sexually in a marriage, or like the parent is now dating somebody, and so they're revealing a whole bunch. That's completely inappropriate. It creates a dynamic in the parent-child relationship that is almost impossible to heal.
Well, and also by doing that, you almost lose that parental boundary.
Yeah.
Like you basically said, I don't want to be your parent anymore. I want you to be my coping mechanism.
Exactly. It is not your kid's job to be your friend
It's
when you're suffering through a divorce.
That's equivalent of you getting so trashed that you're vomiting on the floor and your kid has to walk over you to cook dinner for the other kids.
Right.
Yeah.
That is also a problem.
Let's not do that.
No, please don't.
So this first step in that basically is explaining the divorce in a simple age-appropriate term. So obviously if your kid's 3,
Right.
they're not going to understand too much.
Yeah, we're not going through the divorce decree with them.
Yeah.
So how did you do? How old were your kids when you and your ex-wife got divorced?
10 and 7-ish. I mean, it's about around the age they were.
How did you explain it to them?
We sat down, and I mean, it was kind of obvious because I was already sleeping in a bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we were lying, saying that Daddy snores a lot, keeping Mom awake, kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing. And you know, they'd kind of take turns sleeping in the room with us and stuff like that. I think Kira definitely understood it more than Quinn. Yeah, it was hard, but you basically tell them, like, I don't know, I remember the exact words, but it was basically, you know, we're not working anymore as a family unit.
Mm-hmm.
We've grown apart into a way that we're not supporting each other that's healthy for you guys, and we want a healthy environment for you to grow up in, and you know, and I really meant this. Like, things won't change. You're still going to see me. You'll see your mom. You know, we got a parenting plan. And one thing I learned when I read is you have to have your plan ready when you actually talk to them, and that was really key. So when they had questions, we had answers.
Yeah.
You know, we never said, "Oh, we don't know. I don't know." You know, we literally were like, this is where I'm going to live. So I found an apartment first. And I did read later on that it's good to take them to find where they're going to live next. And so they have some say in it. And so it becomes a little more normal. So I took them to get their own beds and furniture.
You know, after all these years, it's still really emotional for you.
Yeah, I am crying. Sorry.
Don't apologize.
So,
Dawson, don't apologize.
that was hard, man.
Yeah. So one of the things that the audience doesn't get to see is they don't see that you're getting tears in your eyes, getting emotional. They could probably hear it through your voice right now. But so are you okay with sharing what you're going through right now as you're talking about that process of, you know, getting an apartment and getting beds for the kids, and what was that for you?
It was scary as fuck.
Yeah.
You know, and
Scary how?
well, shit, you think over this? I mean, hell, it's been 8-9 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's still pulling up these strong emotions.
Yeah, and so, like, for me, I was, you know, we talked about the role reversals a couple episodes ago, and you know, I was the one that was making dinner and going to sports and school activities and reading to them in bed and just all the cool things that I remember in our marriage counseling. My ex asked her, she's like, should he move out and we can work on this and see if we want to stay married? And she literally looks at both of us and goes, no, because he's going to get so much more freedom that he'll never want to come back. Because he'll actually go, oh, this is kind of nice. I get a break for once.
Right.
Kind of thing. And so for me, when I'm going through all these emotional moments, it was hard because all I could think about is I don't get to read to him every night anymore. I don't get to be there when they come up from school and hear about their day. And it is different when it's like on the phone and whatnot.
Oh, yeah.
They get older and teenagers and they kind of pull away, which is normal. It's healthy. It's, you know, we're not the priority anymore. The friends are. And so it feeds on that. So as a dad and other dads that get their kids ripped away, like I was parenting plan 100% same page, all that stuff, and I still have these emotions and it still felt like I was getting ripped away. I could not imagine these poor guys that have women that just strip their fucking kids away from them. You know?
Yeah.
That would have broke me, kind of thing. But anyway, so like the big thing is I stayed strong and I didn't take things personal and I didn't ever badmouth Brenna or talk bad about her. The whole goal was to help them understand that they did nothing wrong.
Yeah.
And that was part of the talk is as we're going through this, you have these emotions and of course everyone's crying. And as a man, you just try to.
We're supposed to be the rock.
Yeah.
As we're breaking apart inside.
Yeah. Just really suck it up and be that strong, stable thing that they can count on. And then you're trying to create that double stable environment. And thank God I had an ex that we were great fucking parents. We never argued in front of them. We never talked bad about each other in front of them. I don't know how much if she does now, but I doubt it because she's not that kind of person. And we always maintained the same kind of goal. Now, as they got older, I was still the rule guy, disciplinary, and I'm not in Brenda's house, so I can't say if they are,
right,
but according to Kira, she's not as
she's much more lenient.
Yeah, and so it's easier for them and stuff like that. But the great thing is my emotion and stuff like that. We encourage them to tell us how you feel, and it was great because I think if I remember right, I think Kira just said this fucking sucks.
Yeah,
and I go, yeah, it does. And it's okay. Like, you can be angry. You can be sad. We'll get through it together. And ironically, I said as a family, and of course, we're not a family anymore. I'm like, sure we are. We're just in two homes.
Were there ever times where, like, these emotions that came out today came out in front of your kids? Or did you try and be that strong father the entire time?
I think every once in a while, I miss you guys, and I'd see him and hug him, kiss him, or get by. But most of the time, I really locked it down. And
why lock it down? What do you think the benefit or the drawback is for doing that?
Well, there's where you want your kids to see you as a strong, stable, supportive individual. But you also want them to know that you have emotion and kindness. So Kira jokes. It's like, oh, my dad, he wears his heart on his sleeve. He cries so easily, even in movies. I'm like, oh, fuck you. But not really.
Yeah, pansy. No, I'm just kidding.
But it's also one of those things that, I was raised by a woman. I didn't have a dad growing up. So, it was always one of those, it's okay to, my mom was always, it's okay to have your feelings. It's okay to express your feelings. It's how you do it. Yeah. These kids out there that are destroying crap and they're swearing and beating people and it's inappropriate, man. You don't need to do that crap. It's right. Use your words. And really, we're learning that they don't know how to communicate. Yeah. Because they were probably told to shut the fuck up, to lock it down, don't tell anybody kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And really, honestly, I had great support. I had friends that I could go to and talk to and basically cry it out. And that way I didn't keep it locked in. Because keeping it locked in isn't the last part of this of taking care of yourself. Right. So,
yeah, see, I had a different experience than you did.
Yeah. I would have hated to go through what you went through. Yeah, so, the big thing I understood is, trying to encourage them to validate their feelings. Don't make them feel bad for being angry or sad or pissed off, because that's part of the grieving process. And what did you find? And it's just, you got to allow your kids to do it. The one.
Well, yeah. They're going to feel what they're going to feel. You can't tell them. You and I grew up in an environment in Gen X where it's like we were told what to feel or not to feel, right?
Yeah. Pretty much. Shut up.
Yeah. And so when it comes to the kids going, because they're the ones going through the divorce too.
Yeah.
Their world is falling apart around them. They're going to have those feelings. They're going to be angry. They're going to be sad. They're going to wish mom and dad got together. Again, they may long for that again. They're allowed to feel those things, and they shouldn't be invalidated at all.
Yeah, and the biggest mistake people make, honestly, is assuming how your kids feel or, like you said, telling them how they feel. But you made a great comment. It's like their world is falling apart around them. And so it really isn't. It's just changing. But in their mind, that's how they feel.
Right. Well, and because perception's reality, the only thing they know is mom and dad and family. And now they have no idea what the future is going to look like. So everything that they know is being destroyed. And,
and that's great. As you sit down with them, the more you have ready to explain to them, the safer they feel and the transition is better. Yeah. And that's why, we really made it a goal to have the parenting plan in place, the pickup times, what the plan was, what's going to change. We told them what would change, what's not going to change. And Brennan and I were so good at adjusting accordingly. Like, we weren't one of those people like, nope, it's 7:02. You're fucking 2 minutes over your parenting
Yeah, which
time.
happens all the time. So you actually had a pretty decent divorce, it sounds like.
Yeah, it's just how the divorce happened. Here in Kansas, you literally can go to the courthouse and pay $40 and sit in front of a computer and do everything yourself. Like, you don't even need a fucking lawyer. I mean, and that's
what would have saved so much money.
I know, it would have saved us money too. And down the road, oh, wow, I just stuttered. Ultimately, we went to mediation because her lawyer was trying to screw me over so bad and just trying to write it out to where I would be basically bankrupt, and really didn't follow the agreement we had. But my kids never knew that, because I never let them understood that. Like, I always
you didn't tell them.
It seemed like it was great. We're doing great.
Well, and part of that communication is that, like, not trash talking the other parent. Don't blame, you may be pissed off, you may be angry, you may be hurt, you may be whatever, but the kids don't need to see that. That's between you and your ex.
Yeah, and the more things got pushed, the more angry I got, and it got to the point where you have to record every little conversation and keep every text, and it's sad that you do that, but you do that just to, honestly, you do it to maintain consistency and accountability.
Recording every text.
Yeah.
They have the parenting app now where you message through the parenting app. I encourage my clients not to talk on the phone, and if they do talk on the phone, if it starts to go south, the line of like, I don't like where this conversation's going. If we can't have a civil conversation, then I'm going to end the conversation.
Yeah, and I had to do that a couple of times, and I know she had to do it a couple of times, which was totally fine.
It's totally fine. It's a mature thing to do, right?
Yeah, because you want to maintain the positivity of the divorce, which it's hard to say there's positivity, but the goal is to get out of a bad situation and create healthy environments for the kids in a new...
Ultimately, Sadly, I think what happens way too often is that it is a selfish, prideful thing where one person or both people are just, they want what they want. They don't care what the other parent thinks, and they'll do whatever it takes to get what they're trying to get.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that destroys kids.
Yeah. And that's hard. And, it really is, it goes down to, the next topic, which is after you've done the communication, after you've allowed the feelings, you've kind of set that groundwork. The next goal is to maintain a routine and stability and trying to stay under that collaborative effort with the co-parenting plan. Yeah. Which honestly, we did really good. I mean, ideally you try to keep things consistent that it was when you were a family. So,
it's interesting.
Meal times.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. I'm actually starting to feel a little resentful that your divorce went so well, because mine was so bad. My first one was horrible.
Yeah. It could have gone much better.
Oh, sure.
In my opinion, and probably hers too. But it just was what it is, kind of thing.
Yeah, but like you're talking about this co-parenting and maintaining, and it's like that. I would have loved that.
Yeah, and honestly, you've never really actually told me Kind of how bad, like it's national news, and she was psychotic as hell. But
No, it's,
so
I mean,
I know you lost your kids for a while, and
we both did, yeah. So and it was just it was an absolute mess. It was absolute mess. So like the maintaining routines, having that stability, that did not happen in my first divorce. My kids went through shit. They went through hell. And that's, I mean, I'm over a lot of the stuff that happened, but that's one of the things that I still have a lot of resentment for, is what my kids had to go through. And they're good, they're okay now, all that kind of stuff, but it was so unnecessary.
yeah.
I mean,
So what was your main plan for stability and stuff like that, and then how did it go wrong?
well, so initially I was going to be that normal. So we had built a house. I'd gotten out of the military. She was going to stay in the house, have the kids. I was going to see them every other weekend, every Wednesday, Father's Day, my birthday, all that, like that traditional, you know. Now the big focus is 50-50, but that wasn't the big focus at the time. I bought another house, and so I was starting to have the kids come over, and then all this shit went down. And when I found out the stuff that was going on, it was like we were trying to do the divorce ourselves. And
But in Missouri,
no, this is Georgia.
Georgia, okay.
Yeah, this is in Georgia. And so I found out the stuff, and I'm not going to go into the details or anything like that about what was going on. It's not, I'm not trying to drum all that back up, but what happened is like when I found out, I got an attorney, had an emergency hearing, all this other stuff, and I think, this is just my speculation, she tried to turn everything around where I was this horrible monster, and the judge and the court system didn't know what to believe, and so we both temporarily lost custody. And normally it's a 30 to 60 day time frame between that and when you have a fitness hearing and all that kind of stuff. The fitness hearing didn't happen for a year and 3 months, year and 4 months.
God dang, man.
Yeah.
So what happened to the kids? And
so initially when I because I didn't have the money, I called my parents and asked for help, and they offered to, if they needed to, they could come down and stay temporarily in my house, And so when we temporarily lost custody, my parents came down. It ended up being 4 or 5 months that they were in my house. I was crashing on a buddy of mine's floor, not a bed, a floor, because I didn't expect it to take that long. And it became so stressful for my mother that she started having some health issues, and so they told the courts, we can't keep doing this. They were hoping that it would push the court to actually make a decision. Nope. I saw a brother-in-law in the courthouse that next court hearing, and all of a sudden the guardian ad litem is recommending that my kids go and live with him in Arizona temporarily, and he got temporary guardianship. And so when it goes to the communication thing, we sat, my kids went and stayed in her house, our house really, but like her house the night before they left, and then I was there with the guardian ad litem, her brother, and her to tell the kids what was going to happen. And before the kids got there, and it's the only time I ever did this, but I looked at my ex-wife and I said, I despise you for this. And I haven't gotten over that. That part I have not gotten over.
Yeah.
Because it was so unnecessary. So they lived in Arizona for 4 months, and it became too much for his family. And so then a sister-in-law here in Kansas City petitioned for temporary guardianship. The whole time I'm petitioning for custody of my kids. I'm jumping through hoops for the court system trying to just get them to let me have my kids.
Yeah.
What
was the barrier?
I was a big, scary-looking veteran with PTSD, and she was a petite cheerleader, innocent-looking girl, and claimed that I was this anger-ridden, violent, whatever, not violent, but she said I remember that it was just, I was painted as a monster.
Yeah.
And it happens to a lot of men.
Yeah, it really does.
And so, sister-in-law here in Kansas City, she got temporary guardianship, and then we finally, the decision, the thing that finally ended the chaos was The custody decision was given to a juvenile court judge.
Someone that actually understands emotional trauma for kids.
He actually read through the record.
Yeah.
The other judge, I remember him closing a hearing, and my attorney's like, Your Honor, what about the motions that we filed? And the judge had never read a motion.
The failed court system.
It was horrible, and so I'm glad that it went to the juvenile court judge. The juvenile court judge had a meeting with the attorneys and the guardian ad litem and basically said, okay, where are we on this? And the other attorney was like, oh, well, they both lost custody of their kids. And my attorney said, no, that's never been determined. We've been asking for a fitness hearing, and we've been petitioning for custody this entire time. And the judge said, okay, that's what we're doing next. And it was still delayed 3 months.
God.
Yeah. But when it finally happened, and it was the final hearing, but what finally happened was my attorney was late. I was so nervous. But the judge called the attorneys and the guardian ad litem back in his chambers. My attorney told me this later, and he said, basically looking at the other attorney and the guardian ad litem, he said, I've read through everything on this case, and unless there's something that you have on this guy that's not part of the record, he's getting his kids.
Nice.
That should have been in the first month.
Yeah, 100%.
Should have been the first month. And so that's the part that my kids didn't get that routine. They didn't get that stability.
Yeah.
For over a year.
So how did you basically cope with that and help them transition through that? Because obviously
I couldn't. I couldn't. I wasn't allowed to be around them. So when I finally got custody, so I rented a house because I just moved back to Kansas City. I actually gave my real estate agent signature authority to close on the house because I was like, I'm out. I'm getting my kids, So I sat down with my kids. Basically, I remember saying, things to the extent of, this has been a horrible year and a half, and, we're going to come together as a family. And I had them make the rules in the house. My goal at that point was to just give them stability.
Yeah.
I promised them that they wouldn't bounce around schools because they went to 3 different schools in 3 different states in the same school year. Yeah. So I promised them they'd be able to graduate from the same high school, that would not change. I ended up, living in 3 different homes, but they stayed in the same school district the entire time because I wanted them to have that stability because it was so chaotic for so long.
Yeah.
And then me working on me, right, to try and be the best version of myself that I could be for them. Everything was focused on them.
Nice. Well, and I love that you said you sat down and had them make the rules. Like that's not you saying
I guided them.
Yeah, it's not you saying they got to rule the island, but it's basically you were trying to create a collaborative effort with your kids in a parenting program with them in a way that you should have had with your ex. And it would have been great if I had a participating co-parent, but because of all the crap, that wasn't really possible. I had sole physical and legal custody, final decision making authority. But I recognize that me being angry, that's not what my kids need, and so I was trying to build them back up and focus on my relationship with them. And that's one thing I encourage a lot of my clients to do is your hurt feelings about your ex and all that kind of stuff are valid, but focus on you becoming healthy and you building a relationship with your kids. Don't worry about her relationship with the kids so much. Focus on yours. Well, and that's basically going to the next section of fostering healthy relationships with your kids and trying to build that safety zone on both sides to where, and we really got to the point where the transition was flawless. There was really hardly any issues. The big thing is you got to support that healthy relationship with the other parent. I think we see a lot of.
There's so much.
I don't want to say women, but just when one of the people are so butthurt that they don't allow the other parent to have that time or to build that relationship, or they undermine that parent. I saw that with Amanda all the fucking time, where she was undermining her ex at every turn talking crap about him to the point that the kids, I mean, you could see in their face, people forget that kid is 50% of that other person.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're saying, I don't like it when so-and-so does that, well, the kid's going to go, well, shit, do I do that? I don't want my mom to not like me because if I do that and she hates that he does that, I mean, come on, man.
Well, and it creates this dynamic where kids love both their parents.
Yeah.
And there's this loyalty conflict where if one parent is bitter and angry and talking bad about the other parent, but they don't want to piss off this parent, but they don't like that their other parent is being trash talked too because they love their other parent. And so one of the things that I tried to very vehemently do was not say anything negative about their mom. I'm sure there were a couple of things that came out here. It's hard not to, of course. Yeah. But I mean, there were times where my kids would express what they were frustrated by with their mom. They're going back and forth, and I would stop them. And I have defended their mom to them.
Yeah.
And said, hey, I get it, but there's no love lost between your mom and I, but it's still your mom, and so you may think about that as your, my ex probably doesn't care, but yeah, but I was still defending her to the kids because I didn't want them to fall into that trap of one parent versus the other parent or getting stuck between the issues that the parents have. Kids just need to be kids. They just need to be loved and supported. Just because the marriage didn't work out doesn't mean that the kids have to suffer too.
Yeah. Well, and you have to go back to, did you still let the kids see the grandparents and stuff?
Yes, but I had this, man. So there was this experience where I got called from ex-stepmother-in-law, and she was doing this grandma party thing, and she's like, this is when we're doing it, da-da-da. And I was like, great, yeah, just let me know, and I'll bring them up. I'll just hang out in the background, and then I'll bring them home. And she's like, well, why do you need to come? Why can't somebody just pick them up? It's like, because I don't trust that everybody's... in the court order, there's a non-disparagement clause. Everybody should have a non-disparagement clause in their divorce decree.
Yes.
Where both sides are basically told by the court, you can't trash talk the other side. So that was in there. I didn't trust some of my in-laws to follow that, and that's what I told her. I said, I don't trust that people are going to follow this. She goes, but you're not family anymore. And I mean, my ex and I had been married for 15 years. I mean, almost 16 by the time the divorce was finalized. And it's like, okay, well, if I'm not, and this is what I told her, I said, if I'm not family, then I guess neither are my kids because they're my kids.
Yeah.
But it was this attitude of like, total disregard for me, total disregard for what my concerns were, total disregard for my role as the single parent. And so it's like, I'm not going to put my kids in an environment where other people are going to undermine me and my relationship with them and all that kind of stuff. I got sole custody for a reason.
Yeah.
Sadly, I wish that weren't the case. I wish that wasn't valid, but I was the parent. And so one of the things that I was very, very adamant about was protecting my kids from the chaos. And I'm not the one who lost custody.
Well, and your whole goal is to stop unnecessary trauma.
Unnecessary trauma, manipulation, whatever. There was so like the second Christmas, I think it was, after I got custody of my kids, their mom didn't come out. For whatever reason, it's whatever. But I made the time for her parents, so my kids' grandparents, to come to my house and spend time with them on Christmas. Because I didn't feel like, because normally it would be she would take them up to their places, all that kind of stuff. It's like, well, just because she's not going to be out here doesn't mean that they shouldn't be able to see the kids. And so I made that time.
Yeah,
that was, it was,
well, and that's,
totally disrespected.
And that's the thing is you were trying to, and that's what they recommend is you encourage that outside support, that fostering those relationships.
Right, but it has to be from family members that are healthy. Because
right.
There's so much chaos. I mean, I have clients who are dealing with in-laws or ex's parents where they are worse than their ex.
Yeah, and that's kind of what's rough is, I kind of dealt with that too, and I'd hear things that Brenna's mom would say, and I just would She's allowed to have her opinions.
Right.
It's
We
okay,
can't
whatever.
react to it because
I go, but the great thing is it's not true, kind of thing. And it was like,
right.
The biggest example was I want to take my kids to Wrigley, and I was like, since Kira was born, that's all I was excited to do is like take him to Wrigley, because I'm a huge Cubs fan and I've gone more times than I can count. I mean, I went to Wrigley 36 times before I saw them win thousands of dollars. And so that's one thing I was so excited to get to do someday when they were old enough to go. And I remember the Cubs won the World Series in 16. So I'm like, I can't afford to take them to, $1,000 games and stuff. So I was like, I'll take them to spring training. It was our first vacation after the divorce. Wanted to do something special for them. And I'm the kind of guy that's like, I'll plan this trip where we stop every 4 hours. It's something unique on the road to like really build those experiences. And, basically the whole trip was go see a Cubs game, go to the Grand Canyon, hit Four Corners, all that stuff.
That's cool.
And then back home. And I remember when I got the tickets and everything, and Kira told me, it's like, yeah, Grandma, she made a comment of, well, if your dad can't take you up to the Wrigley, I'll do it this summer. And luckily Kira goes, no, I want to go there with my dad first. That's something that means a lot to him. And she's like 11, and she says this. And, irony is the hotel had bed bugs, so we had to get a hotel in the mountains, which actually ended up being a little dude ranch. And it was like 20 degrees, but the valley was 80 degrees. So, of course, we go down, and they're wearing jeans, long shirts, and it's so hot. And they're so miserable. And I have to buy Kira these, like, shorts for girls, but, of course, it's for adult girls, and she's 11, so they're, like, half falling off because she's having heat stroke. And we get the one section that doesn't have shade.
Those are the stories that you carry with you.
And we're there for like, God, I think it's only like 20 minutes, if that. It wasn't even the second inning. And they're like, can we please leave? I'm so hot. I'm so miserable. And, deep down, I was like, motherfuckers, but I'm like, it is freaking hot in here. Like, yeah, it's fine. We can go as part of the experience. And like, and my whole thought was, we're still going to go to Wrigley, and that's what matters. This is just kind of a cool, let's go do it, kind of thing. And as we're walking out, Schwarber hits a home run, and Quinn's like, we missed it. I'm like, well, that's what happens when you leave early, and we just made it fun. And that trip was awesome. We went to the Grand Canyon, and my kids, I've always had that parenting coping to where we would go to parks and the zoo all the time, and I'd be miserable and I'd be bored, but I'm like having so much fun at the same time, because I'm with them and seeing the joy in their eyes. And so the Grand Canyon was so cool because we did the whole 12 miles walk up the Grand Canyon, and they'd start to get tired, and I'm like, we'd just sit down and we'd start talking. I'm like, oh my gosh, look, there's a Jeep down there. I go, as we walk, you'll see how it moves and it changes the view and everything. And so, because them being young, they didn't really understand viewpoint and how as you walk a little bit, it changes the viewpoint. And so, it's 12 miles of the same thing, but really you're getting, I think it's like 40 different viewpoints of the Grand Canyon. And they got so hyper fixated on that Jeep and where it was at. And as we're walking, it's just down the bottom, and the crew eventually couldn't see it. They're like, where'd it go? Where'd it go? Like, we've walked long enough that it's around the corner. We can't see it anymore. Like, oh, that's so cool, kind of thing. And it was just a great trip, and just loved it. And I think that's where they really grew to love hiking. And, kudos to Brenna for adjusting her vacations. There was
screw you.
There was some annoyance to it. It's like, you're stealing my vacations, what I want to do with them.
Right.
But as a parent, she's like, oh, they really enjoy hiking. They really enjoy going camping and doing those things. No, she glamps, which is totally fine. I don't give a crap.
I glamp. Are you kidding?
But that's her adjusting to, foster those healthy relationships with them, recognizing, they really love doing that with their dad. And he's getting quality time with them. I need to adjust my views.
Do you think that is out of like resentment trying to take away from you, or do you think she was just trying to capture some of that too?
Well, I mean, there's there's always resentment, there's jealousy,
Right.
and then there's desire. Okay, right? So are they ill-intended or are they good intentions?
Right.
Generally, I think hers were good intentions. And sometimes how they were done.
That's great.
Like the lake, we'd go to the lake with our kids. It's been a tradition, it's, $150 for a week, which is great. It's a great cheap vacation that I could do with them. They love it. And, I think Brenda's like, wow, why am I spending $10,000 then if we can just go to the lake house and hang out at the lake? And even her mom thought that way. And and they adjusted accordingly, and they've had great vacations, and I'm glad that they can do that, kind of thing. And it's just, and I do really appreciate that we did that, and we're able to do that. And I think for me, where I failed with my first relationship after Brenna, I was working so hard to combine the family, and there's stuff in the background that I had no idea, because if I did, a relationship would have ended way sooner.
Probably would have been a good thing.
Yeah. But I was trying so hard to maintain stability, maintain the function, combining the family, have stability with that. And, that's going to be a great episode. How do you combine a family healthily? Yeah. But because of that, unknowingly, that it was becoming less stable for my kids. And so then they didn't want to come as much because my environment wasn't as stable as it was originally.
And that's where, like, our resentments and things, if we let them come to the surface, and like, there's a lot of men out there that they become sullen and angry, and they just kind of brood all the time because they're angry that they lost everything, or their ex is acting a certain way, but then they're acting in a way that drives their kids away, and then they're resentful because they think their ex is manipulating their kids, which happens often. But it's not just that, it's also their behavior is pushing the kids away. And so fostering those relationships really means we have to put our stuff aside. We have to focus on building the relationship. And for me, like, a big part of it was me becoming the dad that my kids deserved.
Right.
Which meant working on me and being honest about, like, my own issues, my own shit.
Yeah. Yeah, and honestly, when you go to that last topic of self-care as a parent, it's so true. I mean, I was in nursing school. I was working full-time, got divorced because the stress was it was killing me, man. I was having test anxiety. I never freaking have test anxiety. I usually can memorize anything and be like, close my eyes and just be fine. But when I'm like getting anxiety to where I can't even read their words, I mean, that's like almost severe anxiety, because in my head I'm going, if I fail, I'm screwed because I'm trying to better myself.
Yep.
And if I don't, then I have these $80,000 worth of loans for nothing.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And I just, my kids really did help me transition because I focused on them, creating an environment for them, and they loved me and they were supportive, and they were that way because I followed these steps. I followed that good communication on the divorce. I followed that creating an environment, letting them have say in it. You built your stability by helping your kids have ownership. Yeah. I mean, you were doing these steps once you actually had
Once support. I finally got them. Yeah.
And and I know your kids, and there was anger. I've seen.
Oh yeah.
I have anger towards his mom, but also love towards her mom. Like, it's amazing how you can see a kid show both emotions at once. And as we get an adult, we learn to be better at showing one or not showing. But your kids turned out amazing.
Thank you.
And that's 100% credit to you, and the environment that you had and the support that you had too.
Well, and I appreciate the compliment. I've certainly strived to be as good a dad as I could, but it came from a lot of struggle too. There was, I remember specifically one time with my son where he was really angry, and it was after that lake trip where he had the attitude. All the kids were out on the boat and at night, and the conversation was starting to get a little uncomfortable.
Typical. I'm almost 18.
Right. Yeah. So we got home, and he was mad at me for something, or I was upset with him about something. And we kind of were yelling at each other because I'm not a perfect dad. And I told him how it's was really hard to embarrass me, and I was embarrassed. And I said, I know that you're angry. I know that you're hurt. And I take it because I know you need me to. But it hurts every single time. And he didn't realize, I don't think, how much I was actually carrying. And it became a very poignant moment for the two of us. He broke down crying because I'd started crying when I was saying that to him. And he started crying, and he gave me this massive hug, and it became a very cathartic healing experience. But, that idea of, I was taking it because my kids were hurting and they were angry and they were sad and they were confused and all that kind of stuff. And they didn't know how to deal with all of that all the time. And so when they got upset, I had to carry that for them. And so for me to be able to do that, though, I have to be in a good place too. Not a good place, but a healthier place too. And it's hard to do that when we're holding on to our resentments. And so with my ex, with their mom, I'm not angry with her. I'm angry about circumstances, but she's not going to care, but I've forgiven her because I have to.
Yeah.
I have to be able to let go so that I'm not hanging on to all of this, because if I'm hanging on to the anger and all that, then I'm not good for my kids.
Well, and you can't truly move on and grow with them. And then down the road, I think that's part of the reason we're doing this podcast, is to help people understand that you can communicate and get through things, and it's hard as fuck sometimes.
Most of the time.
But you're not alone.
No.
You're not alone. That's why this Dad Supporting Dads is so big on TikTok, and it's making its way into other things too. And it's so awesome to see these dads that give a shit, because I think in America,
most do.
They do. And in America, I feel like they're like, screw dads, you don't need them.
Yeah. And it's not a bash on moms at all.
Yeah.
Great moms are awesome. So we're just talking from our perspective.
Yeah. Oh, God, what was I watching last night?
If it's inappropriate, don't say it.
Ballerina. I started watching Ballerina.
Oh, yeah. Okay. The John Wick one?
Yeah.
I want to see that.
And it's really cool because there's a scene in there that I tell my daughter, and I've said this multiple times on multiple episodes. And I know this is a segue. Sorry, guys. But
ADHD moment. It's all good.
It was one of those cool things. It just popped in my head that the guy training her, he literally goes, why are you trying to be like him?
Yeah.
Be you. 'Cause you're a powerful woman that knows how to do this. And as soon as she embraced being a woman and using the aspects and characteristics of a woman and what they bring to the table, that's when she started being a good hitman. And that's the whole point of that, is
stop trying to be somebody else.
I want my daughter to be a woman and to not try to be a man in a man's world. I want her to be a woman in a man's world that brings unique things to that, whatever she does.
I'll tell you a perspective that I had with my kids, with raising my kids, is my job as a parent is to help them become the best version of themselves, not what I think they should be.
Correct. That's where a lot of parents buck up, because it's like, they got injured in high school so they couldn't play baseball, so then they force their kid to play baseball so much that they hate the sport, kind of thing. Or they want to be a debater, or they want to be a doctor because they're a doctor. If they pick a career that, they only make $40,000, that's on them.
Yeah, I became a therapist.
And
doctors, lawyers in my family. And I'm a therapist.
But that's one of those things that, as a dad, if I had kids that were all branches of different things, then I know I succeeded.
Yeah.
And letting them pick, and it goes back to that commercial that I mentioned, I think the last one or a couple episodes ago, about a boy playing in the creek, and they're like, "Oh, what'd you find, son?" It's like, "Oh, I found a rock," and then it goes to a girl in a dress in the creek. They're like, "Honey, get out of the water. You don't get your dress dirty. Honey, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that." And then the title was "Stop Crushing Their Dreams because you never know," or stop letting them explore because you never know what dream you're crushing. And I think I saw that when Kier was 5, and then I just get dirty.
Yeah, and the thing is, it is hard not to let our own stuff get in the way.
Yeah.
But I tried. I was conscientious of it. And like one of the things that I say to my kids too now is, because my oldest daughter's getting married in a few weeks, I hope she has a better marriage than I ever had. I hope they have more money than I ever had. I hope they have a wonderful family. I want them to be better than me. That means that I did my job.
Yeah, and and I mentioned this before too, is the only person on this planet that wants you to do better than you is a dad.
Yeah.
It's like
I agree.
we do not care if our kids do better. We want them to do better.
Yeah.
We want them to have more than we have.
I mean,
we want them to
let me stay with you so that
Now support me down the road.
I got 5 kids. I figure if I visit them a month at a time and then I take 2 months off in the year, then I only have to pay for 2 months of my life.
But we even talked about that with the Mexican culture. I mean, how I admire the Mexican family, the Mexican culture, because it is embracing family wealth and family growth, and families take care of families. And that's why you have 10 living in one home. It's not to sneak into America or anything like that. It's because they're taking care of family.
Well, and the thing is, though, is that, like, to foster that, we have to be working on us so that we can foster these wonderful kids to become these incredible adults, which means we got to get past our own shit.
Yeah. And so you were the rock, the foundation, and you created an environment for your kids to cope through the horrible year and a half they had. What things did you do to kind of help you get better and get right?
So I went through my own therapy for a long time, obviously. So plug for therapy, not just because I'm a therapist, but because it's good. But yeah, I went through my own therapy. I worked on my own PTSD from the military, PTSD from the divorce, and it really just the focus was on, for me anyway, the idea was I want to be the best father that I can be for my kids in a genuine and organic way. I don't want it to be faked. I don't want it to be forced. I want it to just be me.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, there was one time between semesters, because I was in school, after I got custody, I was in school for like 5-6 years straight. I had 2 weeks between semesters in my master's program. And I told my kids, I was like, I'm burned out. I need a break. I'm taking a trip to the mountains because I love the mountains. I said, you guys can come with me or you can stay here. Your grandparents are a couple miles away. You guys are old enough to take care of yourselves.
Yeah.
I think my youngest at the time was like 12 or something like that. And my daughters decided to come with me. My son decided to stay home. And we just drove. And like I've got some really cool photographs. There was a spot on the side of I-80 that I thought was really cool. And so we just stopped and we explored for an hour. Just, hopped a fence and climbed up these, sandstone kind of stuff until the sun went down. And then we got back in the car and kept driving. Yeah. And they got to explore that with me, and it was just a fun experience. Saw some family out in Colorado and Utah, and it was just good.
Yeah, that's
it was good because it was good for me.
Yeah, and that trip that I planned, I mean, that was really like I need to get away. Yeah, because I was like I said, nursing school, moving, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just like, I need to fucking do something fun with my kids.
Yeah.
And if they didn't want to go, then I still would have gone, but I obviously wanted them there. And most often I found that if I'm happy and I'm doing good, then I have a good relationship with my kids.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm sad, depressed, drinking too much or whatever, that's when my relationship starts to suffer. And so it was great to understand that and appreciate that. And it's hard. It's the demons. And we do plug therapy a lot, just not because you're a therapist, but because we both used it to cope with things that we struggled with and to get through hard times and get to a place. Because, you can have great friends that support you and stuff, but a lot of them hold back and, I don't want to hurt your feelings. I don't want you to this, that. I don't want to say the wrong thing, that you hate me. Yeah. And, the great thing with therapy is that person cares, but they don't care. It's like they care, but they don't. It's like they know.
They care, but they're also working on their own lives.
Yeah.
It's not like that they don't care. It's just.
They're going to give you. They're going to talk to you in a way that it's it's weird because it's less hurtful when it comes from a therapist.
We're outside the box.
It's like, damn,
I can say all kinds of stuff.
Yeah,
And I can be very blunt and very candid with clients because they come in expecting to hear things that they may not want to hear.
yeah,
And it actually, that's part of what therapy is really good for, is it's somebody who's totally outside of the box. They have no investment in your personal life. You're not invested in their personal life. And so when they say, dude, you're fucking up, you can go, am I really? Instead of a friend saying, dude, you're fucking up. Well, fuck you. You know, it's different.
yeah. Well, and a lot of times we give each other shit just because we can. Cause we're guys. And
because I love you.
We're the ones that
no homo.
What's kind of funny because it's like we do get, there's some truth to it, but also as men and friends, you can either be butthurt by it or listen to it because they're being honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, but using it in a way that's not demeaning.
And if it's intended positively, if it's intended to be honest and helpful, and you get butthurt, that's just your pride. Let it go.
Yeah.
Think about it and recognize what somebody's actually trying to help you with.
So, I think August is going to be a good month for divorce. Helping. That
didn't sound very good. It's a great month to get divorced.
Do it. So, this is the first step, helping, your kids get through the divorce and helping them. So remember, honest communication, open communication, allowing them to have their feelings, work on that stable environment, stable routine, and foster those healthy relationships, and then work on yourself.
And hopefully by hearing, what Dawson and I have been through, it kind of helps give examples of how we strive to do that. None of us are perfect. We're not going to be, but
never.
If we're making the effort, then we're doing well.
So guys, hey, hit that like button, follow, subscribe. This is for our entertainment purposes.
Yeah, we enjoy
only.
doing this.
But really, I've actually gotten a lot of feedback already from people that have been listening, saying, "Oh my gosh, I appreciate it and appreciate you." I had one of my managers mention, one of the episodes helped her take a step back. And,
yeah, that's awesome. And that's the point. It's just to get people to think about, like, what is it that people are actually, and from our perspective as men and fathers, what are we actually feeling and what are we actually going through that we're not saying to people, so you can't, if it makes you think and it changes the way that you're approaching your own relationship, great, that's awesome. But definitely comment. Let us know what you think.
Yeah.
Let us know what your experiences are.
Yeah, honestly, it'd be great to hear from guys and
men and women.
More comments, yeah. Well, yeah, people.
Yeah.
Hit that like, subscribe again. I'll have all this in the description of kind of the way to do it, and I won't
just that basic outline.
I don't lie, man. I looked this up back when I was getting a divorce, and I worked really hard to follow it, and it worked amazingly for my kids. And it's just
try and be your best
was
self.
Good, so
just try and be your best self.
Hey, thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, thank you. Stay classy, Kansas City.
Yeah, we're totally stealing that.